Hello students, today we are going to continue the types of goods produced in an economy. In the previous video we had completed the final goods and the intermediate goods. So let's start the third type of good, which is known as consumer goods or consumption goods. As the name suggests, consumer goods, those goods which are utilized by the consumers, and consumption means the utilization, the consumption, the thing which we buy, we just consume, and that is known as consumption. Consumer goods and consumption goods or consumption goods. Now, the definition: they are those goods which are directly used, for the satisfaction of human wants. So, very basic definition. They are those goods which are directly used by whom? By the consumers. For what? For the satisfaction of their human wants. For my want, I would just consume the goods directly. Now, these goods are further classified into 4 parts. Now, the first part of consumer good, the first type of consumer goods is durable consumer goods. Now, what is durable consumer goods? Those goods which can be used for several years. They can be used for so many years, for several years, and are of relatively high value. The prices, the value of these goods is very high. For example, you got TV, car, fridge, and such things. These things are of very high prices. So, those goods which can be used for so many years, for many years, and are of relatively high prices. For example, TV, car, fridge, and so many other things. Now, the second type of consumer good is semi-durable consumer good. Now, what are semi-durable consumer goods? Semi. Those goods which can be used for a period of 1 year, or slightly more, not more than 2 years. More than, it could be 1 year or just slightly more than 1 year. And these are not of very high value. They are not of very high value. They could be high, but not very high. Not higher like the durable consumer goods. Got it? Okay. The examples now. For example, clothes, furniture, electricity goods, and so on. These goods are semi-durable consumer goods. Now, the third type of consumer goods are non-durable. Non-durable, or it has a second term also, single-use consumer goods. So, as a term, single-use consumer goods suggests, it means that they cannot be reused, or they can be used only for once. Only for once they can be used. So, let's come to the definition. Those goods which are used up in a single act of consumption. Single act of consumption means which can be used only once. For example, the medicines. Medicines can be used only once. Once you have consumed it, you cannot regain that medicine. You have to go again to the medical store and you have to buy them. So, they cannot be reused. Fine. For example, bread you eat, ink, medicines, and so many other things. Your LPG gas, you can use it only once, and when it is completed, then you have to again send it to the shop, and so that it can be refilled. Now, the fourth type of consumer goods are services. Now, they are not actually goods. They are intangible goods. Intangible means the things which you cannot see. These are intangible goods. You cannot see them. That cannot be seen or touched. However, they cannot be seen or touched. However, the benefits from them can still be enjoyed by us. We cannot see them, we cannot touch them, we cannot hold them, but still the benefits of those services can be enjoyed by us. For example, the service of a teacher. What I am doing? I am teaching you. I am educating you. So, can you hold that education? Can you touch that education? No. But you can feel that you are being educated. You have been imparting some knowledge regarding your CBSE board exams. Now the example, services of a teacher, services of a doctor, services of a lawyer, services of the domestic servant, and so many examples of that. Is that clear? Okay. Now let's start to the fourth type of group. The last type of good are capital goods. Now, what are capital goods? As a commerce student, you must already know what are capital, what is capital, what are capital goods, what are fixed assets. So, these goods are fixed assets. What are fixed assets? Those goods or those assets which are used for the further production, which are used by the firm, by the producer for the further production, and which remain with the producer for a longer period of time. So these goods are fixed assets for the producer, and these goods are used in the process of production. Not for 1 year, not for 2 years, but for many years, for several years. Understood? And they are of very high value. They are of very high value. The use of these goods leads to the depreciation. In accountancy, you must have learned about depreciation. If not, then I am here to tell you that depreciation is the loss of value on fixed assets when they are repeatedly used. If you use an asset, any fixed asset for a continuous years, then it sheds some its of values. The loss of value on fixed assets when they repeatedly use it. For example, plant, machinery, building, etc. These all are the examples of capital goods. These are the fixed assets. Now, there is a notion that all capital goods are producer goods, but all the producer goods are not capital goods. So, if you get this notion in your exams, then you just have to remember the line, they are of high value. Suppose they have a machinery. Suppose they have a machinery, very huge machinery, then it's a capital good. But what about the nuts and bolts in that machinery? Suppose there is some repair work is to be done and they loses some of its nut and bolts. Then what are those nut and bolts? Those nut and bolts are definitely the producer goods. But those nut and bolts are of very low value. They are of very less prices. Therefore, they cannot be considered as capital goods. They will be the producer goods, but they are not the capital goods. The machinery is a capital good, but the nuts and bolts inside that machinery are the producer goods. Right? So, these are all your 4 types of goods. Students, let's do some exercises. Such kinds of questions are usually asked in your board exams. So let's do some exercises. So you have to categorize these goods according to their type of good. Like if they are final goods, then you have to write they are final goods, and if they are intermediate goods, you have to write it as the intermediate goods. Now the first one is paper purchased by a publisher. Now first you have to categorize things according to their end use. Now, paper purchased by a publisher. What does a publisher do with the paper? It uses the paper as a raw material. Now, when a producer buys a raw material, then it is known as intermediate goods. So, the first one is intermediate good. So this one is intermediate good. Now the second one, furniture purchased by a school. Now what does a school do with their furniture? They buy it as an investment. If we are buying a good furniture, then it will gradually attract more students so that they can join the school. So the furniture is an investment, by a school, so it is the final good. Final producer goods, right? Because it is being purchased by a producer. School is a producer. Now, milk purchased by households. Milk. Now, who are households? We are household. If we are purchasing milk, it is definitely for our own consumption. Then it will be the final consumer good. Fine. Coal used by manufacturing firms. So here coal is a raw material for them. For whom? For the firms. So if a producer is buying something as a raw material, then it will be termed under the intermediate good. Fine. Now, purchase of pulses by a consumer. Again, consumer are there. If they are buying something eatable, so it's definitely for their own use. So, purchase of pulses by a consumer, it is a final product or final good. Now, chalk, duster, etc. purchased by a school. Chalk and duster. So, it's not an investment. Because gradually chalk and duster will be utilized in the year only. Within 1 year, these chalk and duster will be finished. So, it is treated as a raw material. Fine? It is treated as a raw material. It will be used and it will be diminished. So, this comes under the intermediate goods. Because these are the raw material for the producer. So, these are the intermediate goods. Fine? Okay. Now, the next one, printer purchased by a lawyer. So, for a lawyer, a printer is an investment so that he can type the legal pages. If he does that, it can save some time, save some money for that lawyer. So, it's an investment, and investment means it's a final producer good. It's a final good. Now, the next one, mobile sets purchased by a mobile dealer. So, what does a mobile dealer does with the mobile sets he purchased? He resells them. He buys from the wholesaler and he sells those mobile sets to the consumers. So, these are being used for the resale. If they are being used for the resale, then it is an intermediate good. I hope you have learned the definitions of final and intermediate goods. If not, then you should. Okay. Unsold coal. What is unsold coal? It's an asset with trader at year end. For a trader, the unsold coal is an investment. So it will be the final good. And the last one, refrigerator installed by a firm. So a refrigerator for a firm is not much in use. He won't be using refrigerator for producing goods. No, he will use it for their own uses. So it's an investment. So that the employees can put their water bottle inside the fridge, or they can use the refrigerator for putting their eatables inside the fridge. So it will be used as an investment. So when the investment is done by the producer, then it is known as the final producer goods. So these are the final goods. I hope you have understood the differences between the intermediate goods and the final goods. That's all for this video.